Good afternoon, folks. Jordan here at the Nutty Gnome Homestead. Today is February 13th, and we are getting ready to start some seeds for the spring. We typically like to start our seeds between 8.5 and 9 weeks before our last expected frost date, which ours comes in mid-April here in Zone 6B. So I showed you guys how we mix up our potting soil. I showed you how we prep all of our seed trays. We've been doing a lot of planting already. So now I just want to show you guys how we do a couple of these trays real quick and show you how you can maximize the amount of seed starts that you get out of each one of these trays. Today we're going to be planting some tomatoes and a lot of different herbs and possibly some more peppers, cabbage, and lettuce. We took these seed trays that we had already filled with potting mix, and we pre-moistened the soil. I used lukewarm water. The soil was already up to about 65 degrees. I wanted to raise it up just a little bit more than that. So I used lukewarm water somewhere around 80 degrees or so, and got all this potting mix pre-moistened. If you've ever tried to dump water on sphagnum peat moss, you'll know that the peat moss will float. You have to get it saturated before it'll start taking on some water. The peat moss is great once it starts absorbing the water, but if you just try to mix water in with the peat moss in this mix, the water is just going to run right off the top and you're not going to get a good saturation like what you're looking for. So by pre-moistening your soil, it allows us to, whenever we put our seed in, cover the seed up, and we water it a second time, that soil is actually going to absorb and hold that moisture a lot better than if we just try to dump some water on later. So I'm going to get you guys turned around here so you can see what we got going on. Okay, so before we get started actually planting any seeds, we do want to make sure that we have everything that we need. We got one of our permanent markers, a couple of tags. These are some different tags that you can write on, stick in individual pots. I usually do an entire tray at a time. So, and here we've got our 72 cells. I showed you guys us getting these prepared the other day. Now, I want to show you guys how we organize and store our seeds. Everybody should have a seed vault, especially in this day and age. You don't know what's going to happen. Last year, seeds were very hard to come by, especially good quality seeds. A lot of the seeds that you did get were, I would say, duds. We had tried to buy some seeds from several different places, and they weren't that good. We're not going to mention any names, but it's some of your bigger name seed companies were sending out seeds that had a lot of failure to germinate when they shouldn't have had problems like that. Anyway, this is one of our seed vaults. This is a 16-pack photo case for storing pictures. Inside of this, we have our seeds. You can organize them however you like. I try to do my own organization with all of my herbs on one side, and I put my tomatoes and peppers and summer garden in another, and you can organize them however you want. But these make it really easy to store. They lock. You can have your seed packs in there. Keep everything labeled that way, so it's really easy to tell what's in it. We do have, every seed that we have is pretty much in here, minus some corn seed and a lot of our pole beans and bush beans. We literally collect a quart to half a gallon of seed a year off of those to keep back. It's just easier for us to store those in glass jars. But anyway, we're going to do some tomatoes today. So let me get this one out of the way. Here's one of my other ones. These make it real handy if you need to leave in a hurry, if you understand what I'm saying. Just grab them and go. Here's some of my heirloom tomatoes. I also have my hybrid tomatoes. Everything's marked separated. We do seed save a lot of our own seed. Romas, brandywines, beefsteaks, so on and so forth. Today we're going to be planting some mortgage lifters, one of our favorite varieties, a couple of Romas, and some beefsteaks. So I'm going to get a couple packages of seeds out here, and we'll get some of these planted. It's crazy, we're already midway into February, and we'll be in the garden in less than 2 months. Okay, keep that in the frame for you guys. You guys will have to bear with me, I'm trying to work around the camera. I never said I was a professional at this. So as you can see, we have pre-moistened our potting mix in each one of these cells. Whenever you dump the water on the potting mix, it immediately runs off. If you pre-moisten it, it'll actually absorb into it a little bit. That was so whenever, like I said earlier, whenever you go back to water again after you get your seeds planted, this will hold water a whole lot better. So first off, we're going to do our mortgage lifters. My brother grew these last year, and he had several of them that were well over a pound apiece. If you look in there, you don't get very many seeds anymore. It's not like it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. All the more reason to save your own seeds, folks. Okay. That right there is all the seeds that was in that package. So I'm going to take one seed. Since I don't have very many of these, each one will get its own individual cell. And since I got one extra, I'm going to put this one off to the side. Now, before I go any further, I'm going to get one of my little tags out, and I'm going to mark that cell, that tray. We mark the variety. See if I can't get it focused. So we mark the date. Stick that in there, and then I'll move on to the next one. So these are some of my beefsteaks that I saved from last year. We do save literally thousands of seeds every year. I'll be making a video later showing you guys how to save the seeds. Now, there we go. Those look pretty good. So I was telling you guys about how we can maximize each of these cells and get the most production for our time. What I like to do is in opposite corners, I will put one seed. So each cell is going to get 2 seeds. By doing this, I increase my odds at least one of them is going to germinate. And if both of them germinate, since I up-pot these anyway, they're going to be really easy to separate, and then I got 2 plants ready to go for the price of one cell. So whenever space is limited, you can get 2, and I have done 3 in the past, but I don't recommend it. They tend not to be as healthy when you do it that way. And I pick out the biggest, best looking seeds that I can every time I plant. Yeah, some of these seeds may have darkened up, or they got a spot on them from last year that I didn't catch when I put them up. They'll get discarded. If I'm going to put in the time and effort to baby these things and to try to get them to germinate, I want to have the best possible seeds in the soil. These beefsteaks, we do a lot of canning. Canning tomato sauce, canning salsa. We do some pressure canning as well. These beefsteaks, nice and meaty. They do have a little bit more moisture in them than, say, your Romas or Amish paste, but just means you got to cook them down a little while longer. A couple more here. Now, I don't soak my seeds overnight or anything like that. I know some people have good luck doing that. I never have. I've had more issue with mold and rot whenever I soak my seeds. We do use heat mats to get the soil temperature up there 75-80 degrees. That'll get these things pushing through faster than anything. Having nice warm soil temperature. And a trick to keep your seedlings from getting leggy or long and wispy while they're trying to reach for the light is to take and put them closer to the light. Get your seed tray, put it on a box or something, and get it lifted up closer to the light. You don't want those seedlings reaching. So, get you guys up here in the frame. Beefsteak. We'll go ahead and get these marked, because like I said, we don't want to make a mistake. And I'm also going to put a sticker on the front of each of these trays. We put a date on here and the variety, that way so there is no confusion. We try to keep things simple. There we go. So, okay, for the sake of time on this video, instead of filling out the rest of this, I'm going to go ahead and get these four little 6-cell packs ready to go. So I've got my potting soil over here. This is the stuff that we mixed up the other day. This is pretty much all that's left. Just one 10x20 tray. So I'm going to just sprinkle some on top and pat these down. Remember, we've already pre-moistened the soil on the bottom. So whenever we water a second time, whatever water runs right through the soil on top, it's going to immediately get absorbed into that soil on bottom, and you're going to have the perfect environment for germinating these seeds. If you do not have a heat mat, even though they're cheap, I understand money's tight right now, there are some things that you can do. Put it next to a register, put it next to a south-facing window, anywhere where you can get that greenhouse effect, or add just a little bit extra heat. I remember when I was a kid, we actually used heating blankets at one time to raise the temperature just long enough to get these to germinate. Tap it down, make sure the seeds are thoroughly covered. And then I'll come back through and I'll water. I usually get this done really quick, but nothing's ever quick whenever you got a camera out. I just have a 1-quart spray bottle. And what I'll do is I'll come through here, 1 to 2 sprays per cell, is all it takes to get these going. Now here's a tip for whenever they do germinate. If you have grow lights, I highly suggest you leaving the grow lights on for the first 72 hours. If you can raise these trays up as close to the grow lights as you can get, that helps. Leaving those grow lights on for that first 72 hours and getting these trays as close to the lights as you can helps give you a beefy, sturdy stalk without getting those wispy, leggy seedlings that you often see people talking about online and on YouTube. Everybody knows those leggy tomato seedlings where they're like 2.5 inches tall and they fall over with just the slightest breeze. Once these do germinate and they get to be about 1.25 inches or so tall, I'll put a fan on these. I want to make sure that they start building up a tolerance to wind. And whenever we get these ready to put into the ground, they will have a stalk on them at least the size of a number 2 pencil, sometimes a little thicker, and they will be 18 to 22 inches tall. If you can give your seedlings the best start in the house, 8 to 10 weeks, 9 weeks early if you can, and you've got the room for it, I highly suggest you guys start your seeds. So I appreciate you all sticking around and watching this video. If you like this kind of content, like, share, and subscribe. Till next time, y'all be safe.